Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today's just a question for gamers because, well, questions are fun. And I came up with this question because I was, after I launched my last video where I was showing a knockoff of this game, Pitfall, for the Atari 2600. It was a game called Tomboy. And it got me thinking about, knockoffs versus the originals. And, how satisfied I would have been if I were to receive the knockoff versus getting the original. Now, this happens both in video games and in toys, I figured. Because I do remember in the past when I was a kid, when I was really, really into Transformers, and I'd go into the store and I would see, the real Transformers would be there on the shelf, but then there would always be these knockoff Transformers, which, in my opinion, when I was a kid, I didn't care. I would have taken the knockoff one if they had it, and, oftentimes they'd have, say, the knockoff one more than they would have the original ones. And one specific toy I always remember is the Transformer Devastator. Well, the Constructicons. Now they're supposed to be green, and I remember seeing one on the shelf, and they were all yellow. And it didn't say Transformers on the box. Obviously, it probably said something similar, Microformers or something else, something along those lines. And I probably would have been happy to have that one if I couldn't get the original. I probably wouldn't even have cared. And I even think of today, like with video games, I see these knockoff games, I probably wouldn't care. I mean, as long as I have the game to play. Now, there's something to be said about maybe collecting them. If you really get into collecting the offshore or the knockoffs, I could kind of understand that. But I just wanted to kind of throw the question out there, like, how much do you actually care about owning the original thing? Now, you could also talk about repros, which is common right now in a lot of the, selling groups and stuff like that. People are constantly trying to sell reproduction carts and stuff. And, there's a whole argument on whether that's a good thing or not. There's like some expensive games out there. You're always worried that somebody's going to try and pass that off as being the original. And then there's the other thing. There's, the second edition, third editions. I remember the Atari Creep, his video, where he was talking about labels, and he brought up a point about having like the PlayStation game, but it had the green label there, being that it's a greatest hit. It's not the original one; it's like a re-release of it. And to me, I never cared. I mean, just like his answer, he said, "I don't care. I have the game. I can play it." It's cheaper. I paid a lot less for this than I would have paid for the original Tomb Raider off the shelf at the time. And it never bothered me. I don't care. I mean, it's the game. I get to play Tomb Raider on my PlayStation. But, I can see how some people, this would be like an example of an original one. What's the difference? It's black in the background. So yeah, if you're a full-on collector, obviously you're going to want the originals. You're going to want the first editions. I understand that, but I'm just wondering where most people sit on this. How often do you actually care, and do you often find that sometimes it's fun to own the knockoffs? Kind of like the example I did with my last video with the Tomboy, being it's just different, and it's cool to see this different box with this different artwork and possibly poorly written English. It's just kind of cool. I mean, I would love to have that game. I remember someone said on Facebook that they went and they looked on eBay and it was pretty expensive, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to pay that much for something that's just a knockoff of a game I already have, and it's a poor knockoff at that. But my whole point is, how much would you actually care? Like, do you really worry about getting the originals? Do you only want the originals? Or do you think it would be fun to collect these kind of knockoff brands? Or even when you were a kid, did you really care? When you were, if you remember being that kid, whether you were a kid during the 80s, playing the original Atari, or you were a kid during the PlayStation era, did you care that you had a knockoff or not? I think where I stand is I probably wouldn't care. I still wouldn't care today. I grew up playing a Commodore 64, and the majority of my games were, copied from somebody else. So I never had originals for that anyways. Just a fun conversation to throw out there. just to talk about it and, you know, see where people's point of view is on that and who prefers what. I mean, that's the beauty of video games, right? You could collect them, you could just have them, you can own them, you can emulate them, you can duplicate them, you know, you can do whatever you want. Anyways, yeah, just throwing the question out there. Be interesting to hear what you have to say. You know, what did you acquire when you were a kid, and did you care? Even with the toys, did you care that you got the original Transformers? Did you care that you got the original GoBots? I often didn't. I didn't care that their paint jobs were different. I would still play with them as if they were the original thing. Anyways, yeah, just a fun video to talk about it. Let me know in the comments below. Hit like, share, whatever you want to do, and I'll talk to you later.